Welcome to This Explainer, where we're diving into a terrifying, hidden reality of physical decline. It's a silent epidemic quietly destroying the independence of mature adults everywhere. We're talking about muscle starvation. Look, this isn't some slow, gentle easing into frailty. No, this is an active, daily melting process happening right under your skin if you don't know exactly how to stop it.
You know, frailty doesn't just announce itself loudly. Like the saying goes, it whispers, and then, one day, it becomes a shout, a fall, a fracture, a total loss of function. This physical decline is not just bad luck. It is definitely not just genetics. It's the culmination of a devastating, daily biological deficit. Every time you struggle a bit more on the stairs, or feel completely wiped out just carrying groceries into the house, that's the whisper.
Part 1. The biological roadblock.
So why exactly is this happening? We have to look at the internal mechanism causing this accelerated wasting. It comes down to something called anabolic resistance. Now, don't let the science term throw you. Just think of it as a massive biological roadblock. As bodies mature, they literally develop a block that stops them from efficiently absorbing regular amounts of protein. The internal signal telling your body to build and repair tissue, it becomes blunted. A younger body might completely thrive on a moderate plate of food, but for a mature body, that exact same plate is entirely useless against this roadblock. This signal is just way too weak to get through.
And here is where things get really dangerous. There's a massive gap between standard dietary recommendations and what a mature body actually requires to just survive. Those standard guidelines your doctor might casually quote, they were set as the absolute bare minimum just to prevent a nutritional deficiency. They were absolutely not designed to preserve your active, functional muscle against this biological block. To maintain your structural foundation and physically stop the deterioration, your requirements are significantly higher.
Part 2. The daily tissue cannibalization.
Now, what actually happens when we ignore this gap? We enter a horrifying physical reality. And honestly, the math is alarming. Because of this biological roadblock, mature adults who think they're eating quote-unquote healthy are regularly falling 90 grams short of the roughly 150 grams of protein their body desperately needs every single day. 90 grams. Think about it. You have an egg at breakfast, maybe a light salad or sandwich at lunch, a small piece of fish at dinner. That barely scratches the surface. Without even knowing it, you are actively starving your foundation.
And here is the brutal, visceral truth of what happens next. Your body doesn't just politely wait around for you to eat more. To survive the deficit, the body literally cannibalizes its own structural tissue for energy. It devours your muscle to meet its other daily needs. Day after day, your body is melting its own structural foundation just to keep you alive. That right there is the true, terrifying cause of the weakness that slowly compounds over time.
Part 3. The Structural Rescue Protocol.
Okay, but you don't have to be a victim to this. To smash through this biological roadblock, you need an undeniable biological signal. The key is what we call the anabolic trigger, high-value leucine and complete amino acids. Think of leucine as the ignition switch. Without enough of it, the signal to save your muscle is completely ignored by a mature body. It just bounces right off the roadblock.
The crucial point here is knowing exactly where to get this trigger. We need a highly specific arsenal of dense, mandatory sources. We're talking whole eggs. And yes, you absolutely must eat the yolks, which contain vital healthy fats and nutrients. Chicken breast, salmon, lean beef, full-fat Greek yogurt, and cottage cheese. These animal-based foods deliver the exact complete amino acid profiles required to force that preservation signal right through the roadblock. Incomplete plant sources. They simply require way too much careful combining and sheer stomach volume to efficiently override this resistance.
Now let's be incredibly clear about something. We are talking about whole animal foods versus processed alternatives. Do not confuse a fresh, lean cut of beef with a heavily processed hot dog or some packaged deli meat. This rescue protocol requires real, entirely unprocessed foods. Why? Because they deliver critical active nutrients like zinc, iron, and the omega-3s found in fatty fish. These are exactly what actively reduce the inflammation that degrades your muscles in the first place.
Part 4. Strategic nutrient timing. What you eat is vital, sure, but when you eat it entirely determines if it actually works. 30 to 40. This right here is your magic number. We call this the anabolic threshold. You literally must consume 30 to 40 grams of dense protein at a single sitting to blast through the biological roadblock. Anything less than that, the roadblock stays up. The muscle-building trigger is never flipped.
This means eating a massive amount of protein only at dinner is completely useless. Think about it.
If you starve your structural foundation all day with just some toast for breakfast and a side salad for lunch, your body is cannibalizing your muscle for 12 hours straight. Trying to compensate with a massive steak at night simply won't work. Your body cannot utilize that much at once to make up for a whole day's deficit. It's just too late.
To keep your body's repair clock running constantly, you have to hit that 30 to 40 gram threshold systematically. It requires a strict daily timeline: morning, midday, evening, and pre-sleep.
You need a relentless meal-by-meal execution strategy. Anchor 1. Start the morning clock strong with 3 whole eggs and 2 egg whites. Anchor 2. By midday, you need a large, 8-ounce minimum portion of chicken or salmon. Anchor 3. In the evening, fuel up with a solid cut of lean beef or fish. Anchor 4. Right before sleep, lock in that repair with full-fat dairy. Every single meal has a specific job.
Let's focus on that last step for a second, because it is an absolute strategic secret: the overnight repair window. When you sleep, you are fasting. If your bloodstream has no amino acids available, your body spends the entire night eating its own muscle to keep functioning. But consuming a slow-digesting protein, specifically casein, which is found heavily in cottage cheese or Greek yogurt, right before sleep, that acts as a slow-drip defense mechanism. It completely stops the nighttime melting process in its tracks.
Now, we're all human. For days when hitting these whole food targets feels completely impossible, there are heavily evidence-supported backups. Creatine monohydrate, at about 5 grams daily, is a remarkable, highly researched tool for supporting both muscle strength and cognitive function. And a high-quality whey or casein powder? Perfectly acceptable. But remember, it is strictly a backup. Real whole food must always come first in this protocol.
Part 5. Override the decline today. We are at a really critical juncture here. The biology is crystal clear, and the choice is entirely yours. But before you take action, hear this medical disclaimer with the absolute seriousness it deserves. We are engaging in an explainer of biological education today, not delivering personal medical advice. You must consult your doctor before drastically altering your protein intake, especially if you're managing kidney conditions or any other health issues requiring dietary supervision. That is always the intelligent starting point.
So I want to leave you with this final urgent challenge. I want you to look at the very next plate of food you sit down to eat. Look at it really closely. Where is the protein, and is it at least 30 grams? Because if the answer is no, you are actively choosing the path of physical decline. Fix it before you take your first bite. Your long-term independence literally depends on it.